Over the past year or so, a surge of alchemy-themed simulation games emerged seemingly out of nowhere. You have Potionomics, which focuses on running a fantasy-inspired shop, Potion Craft, where the appeal is to experiment and create your own tonics, Potion Tycoon, which has you not just owning a shop, but dominating the entire potion brewing industry, and Potion Permit, a game that promises to mix action, adventure, combat, and exploration, coupled with the allure of developing your own potent concoctions. I'm sure I'm missing a few games here too. While the release of these games may be all coincidental, I believe that it all stems from the massive popularity of both farming sims like Stardew Valley, as well as crafting mechanics in modern games, which is a major feature in everything from Minecraft to Tears of the Kingdom. Being an alchemist allows you to capture the essence of both of these aspects, allowing you to farm or gather materials, utilize these ingredients to craft your own desired mixture, and either sell these remedies to customers or apply them to those in need for profit. Today, we'll be looking at Potion Permit, the first to release of the aforementioned alchemy simulators, and see if being a chemist in the village of Moonberry is a job worth taking. But before we begin, please subscribe to my gaming review channel where I dive into all matter of video games as long as they interest me, and well, even some that don't. Also, I want to personally thank the content creators Delta Shiny Zeta, Hodgepodge, and Miss Bubbles for allowing me to use their footage for today's review, as I wasn't able to capture my own due to playing on Steam Deck. Without them, today's video wouldn't be possible, so please check out their pages and the links in the description. Now, I ended up choosing Potion Permit out of all the others because honestly the colorful art style reminded me of the Minish Cap, and the Minish Cap makes me happy. That, and I was excited to experience both the Zelda-like action-adventure gameplay alongside of running my own clinic. There's a lot of potential here for something amazing, but Potion Permit doesn't always capitalize. Potion Permit was developed by Indonesian studio MassHive Media, who have previously made the Flappy Bird-esque Chill Out Zombies, the tower defense title Vimala Defense Warlords, and the tactical turn-based RPG Azure Saga Pathfinder. First announced in 2020, Potion Permit eventually released in September of 2022, beating the launch date of the other alchemy sims by mere weeks. And the game players control a chemist who has been sent by the capital to aid the remote Moonberry Island. The residents of Moonberry are wary of the capital's chemists due to a horrible incident that occurred years prior, and have therefore sheltered themselves from the capital's influence, entrusting in the help of a local witch doctor to cure their ailments. This all changes, however, when the mayor's daughter contracts a mysterious illness that not even the witch doctor can alleviate. After restoring the health of the young girl, the player earns the chance to open up a clinic on the island on a probation, and by diagnosing the citizens' disorders and assisting them with their personal issues, you'll slowly earn the trust of the folk of Moonberry and uncover the mystery behind the terrible event that created the rift in the first place. I do like that there's more of an initial plot to the game than with most other simulators. Usually it's just, you've inherited your grandfather's farm, now work to make it successful again. Unfortunately, Potion Permit doesn't do enough with the setup, leaving the big mystery that led to everyone distrusting the chemist to be a huge letdown. Without direct spoilers, it all boils down to a misunderstanding where bad stuff happened but wasn't intended, and the villagers never thought to just ask what actually happened to begin with. The main story also ends incredibly abruptly. This isn't what you want to see in a game that tries to push the plot front and center. When you finish the main quest line, the story just stops with everyone meeting in the town square and saying, "Yay, we now know what happened," and you're thrown back into the daily grind of running your clinic. Nothing really changes. It feels incomplete. It really makes you think you've missed something, but really, that's it. To actually complete the game, you do need to maximize your relationship with certain citizens on the island. Which exact people is beyond me. After finishing one of these individual stories, I got a cutscene where the residents of Moonberry all stated that they trusted me now, and I rolled credits. Yet I still had several more that I needed to do. I thought it was a glitch, but I looked it up and no, that's what's supposed to happen, apparently. It's all really clumsy and doesn't make sticking with it feel like a payoff. This is extra disappointing too because the island's residents are the main reason I kept playing this game. You'll encounter a colorful assortment of characters, and almost all of them have interesting enough personalities and stories that you'll want to become friends with all of them. Some characters include the mayor, who's conveniently named Meyer, and his wife Marielle and their daughter Rue, the diligent blacksmith Opalheart and her headstrong daughter Runeheart, Yorn, the tavern proprietor who has a dark past, and the tavern's caring waitress Martha, who just wants to master her cooking. You have the rangers Forrest and Bubble, both quirky in their own ways, Osmond, the police chief who is hesitant to work alongside the capital's chemists, the kind-natured officer Dean and his hot-headed brother Derek, and the former pirate Liano, who has retired from sailing the high seas to manage her own seaside bar. I should also note that the game attempts to explore mental illness quite a bit, with mixed results. There's a surprising amount of characters that struggle with their mental health. Sometimes the game addresses these in interesting ways, while other times it can be pretty offensive. For instance, one character appears to be schizophrenic, adopting a whole new name and personality the moment they clock out from work. Another resident evidently has some learning disabilities, but the game frequently just dismisses him as being a dullard and leaves it at that. A third character is confined to a wheelchair, and the game relies on that tired old stereotype of portraying them as a bitter person who hates their life and all the people they interact with. These negative portrayals really don't work in today's day and age and can potentially sully the experience for many players who are sensitive to that topic. Romances are a major part of these types of simulation games, but entering into such an affair in Potion Permit is also a big letdown. Unlike so many other games, your partner will never move in with you, and aside from a single cutscene, nothing really changes between you and your partner. Once friendships are maxed out, giving a romanceable character an item called a moon brooch will trigger an event where you and that person begin dating. However, the relationship cannot be maxed out any further, and thus dating doesn't mean anything at all. Gifts do nothing, and there are no places to go, so it's all quite pointless. The dialogue doesn't even change between characters. What's more is that you're never tied down to a single partner, so you're free to date the entire village without anyone batting an eye. That is, I would say that, but the dating pool in Moonberry Island is abysmally shallow. Out of over 30 residents, only 3 women and 3 men can be romanced, though thankfully there are no same-sex restrictions. Sometimes it feels like a character should be a dating option, but just aren't. One in particular, Helen, the owner of the arcade, flirts with the protagonist in nearly every single interaction. She even explicitly states that you should ask her out on a date sometime, and yet she isn't a romance choice. It all feels like the developers just shoehorned in the romance feature because they knew it was expected but failed to do anything else with it, which is a real shame. One of the most fun elements of these types of games is finding out the preferences of each character and gifting them the kinds of things that they really like. Potion Permit removes this element with Moon Cloves, the only item that can be gifted and that every single character likes equally. You earn these from completing side quests and as payment for healing patients at your clinic, and while it is convenient, I guess, it removes the thought process of fostering friendships with the townsfolk and is much less fun compared to most other games. I should also mention your canine companion that you receive at the start of the game. This furry fellow will follow you about on your travels, and while he is cute, he doesn't really do all that much. When exploring the wilderness, he can sometimes dig up resources buried underground, which is nice. He can also be handy in locating an island resident should you not be able to find them, but that's about it. Once a day, he'll become hungry and will move about slowly and not obey commands until you feed him, and he does prefer some food over others, so in a way, you can satisfy that gift-giving need via your dog, but increasing a relationship with him takes no time at all and doesn't really affect the game. He's nice to have around though, I guess. About your clinic. You'd think that maintaining your place of business would be one of the most central aspects of the game, but it's really not. For starters, you don't have a patient every day, and in fact, you can go several days without ever seeing anyone. When you do have a patient, that character isn't available for anything else such as quests or shopping until their ailment is healed, putting pressure on you to heal them as quickly as you can. This isn't much of a problem though, as the process of treating them is fast and easy. First, you need to diagnose their illness, and you do this by highlighting the part of the body that they tell you hurts. If they say their right arm feels weird, well, you just examine their right arm. Sometimes that's all you do. The game will automatically tell you what the problem is, what potion is needed, and you just give them the tonic and all's well with the world. If the game doesn't spell it out for you, then you have to complete one of 3 very simple mini-games to obtain the correct diagnosis. More on that in a minute. Once identified, the game will still tell you the potion needed to treat them, and all you have to do is brew it if you haven't already, and give it to them. That's all there is to it. Brewing potions is a little more involved, but not all that complex either. Each potion is crafted by solving a short block puzzle, where you fill in the spaces with various blocks, with the blocks being your ingredients. Each ingredient has their own block formation, a puzzle piece if you will, that can fill in the area of the potion. Ingredients also fall into one of 4 elemental categories, and sometimes potions will force you to only use water elements or fire or a combination of a few, but that restriction rarely poses a challenge. After brewing a potion a total of 5 times, you can save your puzzle solutions to instantly consume the ingredients used and craft the desired tonic. It can be somewhat fun using different ingredients to craft your potions and instantly brewing them when needed with the best ingredients you have on hand. Once crafted, the only use for potions is to use them on patients in the clinic or sell them to a merchant that comes at a set time every day for a set price. There's no haggling or increasing the price based on the ingredients used or the severity of the illness. Each potion has one price. That's it. Everything else performed within your lab and clinic also involves mini-games, all of which are really dull. I mentioned earlier that diagnosing a patient requires you to complete one of 3 mini-games. One has you play a kind of Simon Says memory game, another is rhythm-based and has you press the appropriate buttons to a non-existent beat, and the third has you dodge slow-moving obstacles along a straight path. These never increase in difficulty, really. They just become longer when confronted with more challenging illnesses. The minigame for researching new potions is, in a word, stupid. You'll be given a set number of spaces for elements, and be told that 1 space is for a water element, and 2 for fire, that sort of thing. All you do is cycle through each space, and when you land on the correct element, the game locks it in for you. If it doesn't lock, then that space isn't necessary to complete the puzzle. Now this may sound complicated, so just imagine a 4-digit numerical lock, and you are told that 1 digit is a 3, and 2 digits are 9s. So you take the first digit and turn it to 3, and if it's right, the lock will immediately tell you, and if you're wrong, then try number 9. There's absolutely no thought to it. It's one of the most brainless puzzles I've ever encountered in a video game. It's damn near insulting. You can also take on small jobs for extra cash, which also involve mini-games, but these aren't anything special either. In one you mash a single button for a few seconds, in another you're sorting jars. These can be finished in seconds, and the only skill involved is staying awake. Unlike a lot of other simulation games, Potion Permit doesn't involve farming of any kind. Instead, you must go out into the wilds and gather everything that you may need for your potent brews. There are 3 zones in the wilds, each with their own unique flora and fauna and other materials that can be used as potion recipes. One area is your standard woodland, while the second is your snow-covered mountaintop, and the third is an arid valley down below. None of these zones are particularly long or exciting. You have a few branching paths leading to dead ends, the occasional fishing area, but ultimately you have a single long route that's peppered with items and enemies. What's most frustrating is that you have a very strict limit on how many resources you're able to gather per day. This is because everything from small plants to tall trees, solid rocks, and even enemies all have a set number in which they'll appear. With every in-game day, every resource will replenish in the exact number in the same exact spot every single time. Should you be in need of a certain flower, for example, you can only gather the same 5 that spawn in the same places per day. Again, this goes for pelts of certain animals, wood from certain trees, or from certain rocks, and so on. You can buy some items once you've discovered them from a shop located at the entrance of the wilds, but this can be very expensive, essentially eliminating any kind of profit you may receive. In fact, you'll probably lose money with each potion brewed, so it's highly recommended to use this sparingly and just gather them yourself. Some randomization of the wilds would really help with replayability, discovering rare ingredients, traveling down every path looking for daily secrets, sparring off against an uncommon foe. All would make each time visiting the wilds a whole new adventure. This is why the mines in Stardew Valley work so well. The removal of farming also eliminates another important element from an economy simulator such as this, the element of progress. In most all of these kinds of games, you begin only being able to grow a few small crops in a small place. So you farm these and you sell them for a small profit and invest your profit to make your work more manageable. And by the game's end, you have sprinklers that water your crops, machines that automatically harvest, your fields are expanded, you're rolling in dough while doing the minimum amount of work. You don't ever reach that point in Potion Permit. The game does allow you to upgrade your tools, at least, but this only has a slight effect on your sense of progression. You have 3 types of tools, each used for harvesting different materials: a scythe for small plants, a hammer for stone, and an axe for chopping wood. All 3 of these tools can also be used as weapons against enemies too, though only a few foes are more susceptible to one tool over the others. Using a tool takes away some of your total energy, and so by upgrading them, it allows you to harvest materials in far fewer uses, thus preserving your valuable energy. It's not really enough though, because it still takes a considerable amount of time to travel through areas, but it's at least something. Combat was a big reason I chose Potion Permit over the other games, as I mentioned earlier, but sadly, it's extremely bare bones and requires little to no strategy or skill to pull off. You have only 2 combat moves at your disposal: a single attack and a dodge roll. As I said previously, you can switch between the 3 tools at will, but they all behave the same way with the same attack speeds and damage output, save for a few occasions where an enemy with a shield, for example, may require the hammer or something like that. Rolling is essential for late game battles though, as often enemies are quick and attack multiple times, so you'll need to dodge first before striking back, but really that's the only difficult part. Fortunately, rolling causes temporary invincibility. You can even roll into a bad guy as they're attacking and you won't suffer any damage at all. Even still, you almost have to be trying to die in this game, because it's just so simple. Most enemies won't engage you unless you attack them first, and even when you do get hit, attacks do insignificant damage. They can easily be mitigated with a quick healing item. Only lost all of my health once in the game, and that was towards the very end of the final zone where the enemies hit the hardest. Losing all of your health shouldn't be a major concern either, as the only repercussion is that you pass out and wake up the following day at noon. You don't even lose the items you harvested, just a little bit of time. The art style is at least wonderfully done, and the developers should be commended for creating a game that can be quite beautiful at times, with crisp, bright colors and impressive pixel art. There are some weird sprites though, such as with Liano. Remember, she's a pirate and has a hook for a hand, but every time she turns around, that hook moves to the opposite hand, because all the developers did was flip her sprite, ruining the illusion. You see this a few times in the game with any of the characters that aren't perfectly asymmetrical. It just comes across as lazy design. The music also doesn't quite reach the mark. It achieves its goal of enhancing the cozy nature of the game, and I often even caught myself humming the village's theme when I wasn't playing, but there just aren't enough tunes, the total of which I can probably count on one hand. Some more music, coupled with more melodic songs as opposed to atmospheric ones for when you're exploring, could really enhance this title. Being an indie title, it's expected that the game will have some glitches, but Potion Permit includes far more than you can ignore. While playing on Steam, I noticed frequently that characters' faces would sometimes fail to appear. I'm still not completely sure if it's a glitch or a design choice or not because of how common it occurred, but it's so inconsistent that I have to believe that it's unintentional. Events also would sometimes not load properly. You'll go to enter a cutscene, but the screen just stays black for an extended amount of time, and once the game finally resumes, however, it picks up right after the event, so you have no idea what happened. Whenever I used my Steam Deck to play, the button prompts would constantly change between the gamepad's interface and the keyboard. This wouldn't be that big of a deal, as the gamepad still worked, but whenever you look at your map or begin a minigame, the buttons suddenly stop responding and you have to use the touchpad instead. The only way I could rectify this was exiting out and booting up the game once again. The Switch fares even worse, I'm afraid. Users have reported major crashes that lead to a loss of progress, quests not progressing or not being marked as completed, the inventory screen constantly saying there's something new when there isn't, and even random teleporting bugs where players will be whisked off to new locations upon triggering events, even if they aren't supposed to have access to that area yet. Well, I haven't played it on Switch personally. The long list of issues coming from so many users forces me to not recommend playing on Switch by any means, at least until this somehow gets patched. There are a small handful of other quirks that I just didn't like either, like how quests you pick up from notice boards aren't saved to your quest log, so you have to keep going back to read the descriptions, or stores not telling you how much of each item you already have. I could go on and on, really. The bottom line, though, is aside from the lovely art style, calming music, and mostly charming cast of characters, Potion Permit offers little else in the way of enjoyment. Most of the game just feels like a chore. There's no real payoff to put up with it all. I wager that the many other potion brewing simulators are much more deserving of your time and money, so perhaps we'll explore those in a future episode. Thank you all for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you aren't already a subscriber, and thank you so much to all of those that already are. Shout out to my patrons Late to Gaming, Celeste R, Stoy J, David L, Dan M, and Josh M. Your support is exceptional. If you'd like advance access to my videos, behind the scenes footage, and previews for upcoming videos, then please consider donating to my Patreon for just $1. You can enjoy all of my Patreon benefits. Links to that and my social media pages are listed on the left and the description below. Thank you once again, and take care, everyone.